Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he walked across the rocky ground. The Montana sun was hot, even though it was early morning. He carried his mining scanner in one hand and a water bottle in the other. At 19 years old, Jake had been working the asteroid processing sites for 2 years. It was hard work, but it paid well. The mining colony of Helena was small. Only 300 people lived there. Most worked in the mines or the processing plants. Jake's job was to check the equipment and look for problems. Today he was checking the outer sites far from the main colony. His scanner beeped. Jake stopped and looked at the small screen. Something was wrong. The readings showed metal, but not the kind they mined here. This metal was different. Strange. Jake followed the scanner's signal. It led him to a small hill covered with rocks. Behind the rocks, he found something that made him stop breathing for a moment. A metal pod sat in a crater. It was about the size of a small car. The metal was silver and smooth like nothing Jake had ever seen. Smoke came from cracks in its side. The pod had crashed here, but when? Jake had walked this way just last week. The pod had not been here then. Jake moved closer. His hands shook a little. Everyone knew about aliens, but no one from Helena had ever seen one. The government said first contact had happened 5 years ago, but only important people in big cities ever met aliens. The pod had a door, or what looked like a door. It was partly open. Jake could see inside, but it was dark. He turned on his flashlight and looked in. A girl lay inside the pod, but she was not human. Her skin was blue, like the sky on a clear day. Her hair was white as snow. She wore strange clothes that looked like they were made of metal and cloth together. Blood covered her face and arms. She was not moving. Jake's first thought was to call for help. He reached for his radio, but then he stopped. The government had rules about aliens. If he called, soldiers would come. They would take the girl away. They would ask Jake many questions. They might not help her at all. The girl made a small sound. She was alive, but barely. Her eyes opened a little. They were silver, like her ship. She looked at Jake and tried to speak, but no words came out. Jake made his choice. He put his radio away and climbed into the pod. The girl was small, maybe his age or younger. Jake was not strong, but he managed to lift her. She weighed less than a human girl would. He carried her out of the pod and looked around. Where could he take her? Then Jake remembered the old mining shaft. It was a mile away, in the opposite direction from the colony. No one used it anymore. The company had closed it 2 years ago. When the ore ran out, it would be a good place to hide. Jake carried the girl to his electric cart. She did not wake up during the ride to the old shaft. Jake was worried she might die. He knew nothing about alien medicine, but blood was blood. She was losing too much of it. The old shaft had a small office building. Jake had the keys because he sometimes stored equipment there. He carried the girl inside and put her on an old couch. Then he went to get supplies. Jake brought everything he could think of. Bandages, medicine, water, food, blankets. He cleaned the girl's wounds as best he could. The cuts were deep, but they stopped bleeding after he bandaged them. Her breathing was weak, but steady. For 3 days, Jake came to the shaft every morning before work and every evening after. He brought soup and water. He changed the bandages. Slowly, the girl got better. On the 4th day, she woke up. Her silver eyes opened and looked around the room. When she saw Jake, she tried to sit up too fast. Pain crossed her face and she lay, back down. "Easy," Jake said softly. "You're safe. I won't hurt you." The girl spoke, but Jake could not understand the words. Her language sounded like music mixed with wind. She pointed to herself and said something that sounded like Zara. "Zara?" Jake repeated. The girl nodded. Jake pointed to himself. Jake, Zara said slowly. Her voice was soft and had a strange accent. Over the next weeks, Jake taught Zara basic English. She was very smart and learned fast. Zara taught Jake some words in her language, too. She told him about her home world, a place called Velnath. She drew pictures in the dirt to show him about her people and their cities. Zara also told Jake about the Dominion. They were bad aliens who conquered planets and made slaves of the people. The Dominion had destroyed Velnath. Zara was one of the few who escaped. She had been running for months when her ship crashed on Earth. "Dominion's still looking for me," Zara said one evening. Her English was much better now. "If they find me, they kill me. They kill you too." Jake felt scared, but he also felt angry. "Why do they want to hurt you?" Zara touched a small crystal that hung around her neck. "I have something they want. Something important. My father, he was king. He gave this to me before he died. It has secrets. Secrets that can help fight the Dominion." Jake understood now why Zara had been running. She was not just any alien girl. She was alien royalty, and she carried something that could help her people fight back. 3 months passed. Zara was completely healthy now. She could walk and run. Her English was almost perfect. Jake brought her books to read, and she learned about human history and culture. She was fascinated by Earth and its people. "Humans are different," she told Jake one day. "Most aliens, they only help their own kind. But you helped me and you did not even know me. Why?" Jake thought about it. "Because it was the right thing to do. You were hurt and scared. I could not just leave you there." Zara smiled. It was the first time Jake had seen her truly happy. Jake is good human. Very good. One morning, Jake arrived at the shaft to find Zara standing outside looking at the sky. She had been doing this more often lately. "They are coming," she said without looking at him. "The Dominion?" Jake felt his heart speed up. "No. My people. Friends. They have been searching for me. They are close now." That afternoon, a ship appeared in the sky. It was bigger than Zara's pod, but smaller than the human ships Jake had seen. It landed near the old shaft. 3 aliens came out. They looked like Zara, but were taller and wore armor. When they saw her, they dropped to their knees and spoke in their musical language. Jake could tell they were very happy to find her. Zara spoke with them for a long time. Then she turned to Jake. Tears ran down her blue face. "I have to go, Jake. My people need me. There is still fighting. The Dominion is still strong." Jake nodded. He had known this day would come, but it still hurt. "I understand." Zara reached around her neck and took off the crystal. She pressed it into Jake's hand. The crystal was warm and seemed to glow with inner light. "No," Jake said. "You said this was important. Your people need it." "I have given my people something more important," Zara said. "Hope. You showed me that not all aliens are enemies. Some can be friends. This will help me remember that. And someday, maybe it will help you too." Zara hugged Jake. It was strange, hugging an alien, but it felt right. "Zara will not forget Jake Morrison. Someday when I can, I will help Jake's people. I promise." The aliens walked back to their ship. Zara waved goodbye as the ship lifted into the air. Jake watched until it disappeared among the stars. He looked down at the crystal in his hand. It was beautiful, but he did not understand what it really was or what it could do. He put it in his pocket and walked back to his cart. Jake never told anyone about Zara. He kept working at the mines and eventually became a foreman. Years later, he became mayor of the growing town that grew up around the mining operation. He kept the crystal safe, and sometimes when he looked at the stars, he wondered what had happened to the blue girl he had saved. He never imagined that his simple act of kindness would change the galaxy forever. 10 years had passed since Jake Morrison saved the blue girl named Zara. The small mining colony of Helena had grown into a real city called New Helena. Jake was now 29 years old and the mayor of the city. The mines had expanded, and new businesses had opened. Nearly 10,000 people lived there now. Jake often thought about Zara, especially when he looked at the stars. He still carried her crystal in his pocket every day. Sometimes it seemed to glow softly, but Jake thought that might be his imagination. He had never told anyone about meeting her. It seemed like a dream from long ago. Earth had changed a lot, in 10 years too. Humans had made contact with several alien races. There were alien ambassadors in the big cities now. Some aliens even lived on Earth, working as teachers or traders. But Earth was still considered a young planet by the other aliens. Humans were new to space travel and galactic politics. Jake was in his office one Tuesday morning when his secretary, Amy Carter, rushed in. Her face was white with fear. "Jake, you need to see the news right now," she said, turning on the wall screen. The news reporter looked scared too. Behind her, Jake could see the United Nations building in New York. "This is breaking news," the reporter said. "A massive alien fleet has appeared in Earth's orbit. The ships are unlike anything we have seen before. They are not responding to our calls. Military leaders around the world are meeting to decide what to do." Jake felt his heart start beating fast. The crystal in his pocket suddenly felt warm. He pulled it out and saw that it was glowing brighter than ever before. The reporter continued. "Wait, we are getting new information. The alien fleet is requesting to speak with someone specific. They are asking for Jake Morrison of Montana. I repeat, they want to speak with Jake Morrison of Montana." Amy looked at Jake with wide eyes. "That's you. How do they know your name?" Jake stared at the crystal in his hand. It was now glowing so bright that it lit up the whole room. "I think I know," he said quietly. Within an hour, government agents arrived in New Helena. They were polite but firm. Jake had to come with them immediately. The president of Earth wanted to talk to him. The aliens would only speak to Jake, and everyone wanted to know why. Jake found himself on a military plane to New York. He still carried Zara's crystal. During the flight, he finally told the government agents about what had happened 10 years ago. They listened with amazement and growing excitement. "You saved an alien princess?" Agent Lisa Park asked. "And she gave you that crystal?" She said. "She was a king's daughter," Jake said. "But she was just a hurt girl when I found her. I could not leave her to die." When Jake arrived at the United Nations, he found the building surrounded by soldiers and reporters. The alien ships could be seen in the sky, huge and beautiful. They looked like silver birds with wings spread wide. President Lisa Hamilton met Jake at the entrance. She was a tall woman with kind eyes, but Jake could see she was very worried. "Mr. Morrison," she said, "we need to know everything. What did this alien tell you? What does that crystal do? Are they here to invade us?" "I don't think so," Jake said. "Zara was running from bad aliens called the Dominion. She said her people were fighting them." "Zara? That was her name?" "Yes. She promised she would help humans someday if she could. Maybe she kept her promise." They went into the main assembly hall where leaders from every country on Earth waited. The alien fleet had sent a message saying they would send a representative at exactly 3 o'clock. It was almost time. At exactly 3 o'clock, a bright light filled the center of the hall. When it faded, a woman stood there. She had blue skin and white hair, but she was taller than Jake remembered. She wore elegant clothes that seemed to be made of silver and starlight. A crown sat on her head, and her silver eyes sparkled with intelligence and power. But Jake knew her immediately. "Zara?" The woman smiled, and suddenly she looked like the scared girl Jake had saved so long ago. "Hello, Jake Morrison. I told you I would not forget." The entire assembly hall was silent. World leaders stared in amazement. This alien woman knew Jake Morrison, a small-town mayor from Montana. Zara walked to the center of the hall and spoke, in a clear, strong voice. "People of Earth, I am Empress Zara Velnathi. I rule an empire of 47 worlds and many different alien races. We call ourselves the Free Worlds Alliance." She paused and looked directly at Jake. 10 years ago, I was dying in a crashed ship. A young human found me. He had every reason to turn me over to his government. He had every reason to be afraid. But instead, Jake Morrison chose to save me. He fed me, healed me, and protected me when I had nowhere else to go. Zara turned to address the entire assembly. That act of kindness saved not just my life, but the lives of billions across the galaxy. I am the last of the royal family of Velnath. Without me, my people could not access the ancient weapons needed to fight the Dominion Empire. Because Jake Morrison showed mercy to a stranger. 47 worlds are now free. The hall erupted in whispers and gasps. Jake felt dizzy. He had just been trying to help a hurt girl. He had no idea it would lead to something so big. President Hamilton stood up. "Your Majesty, we are honored by your visit. But why have you come to Earth?" Zara smiled. "I have come to repay a debt. The human Jake Morrison saved the galaxy, though he did not know it. Today, the Free Worlds Alliance offers Earth full membership. You will have access to our technology, our trade routes, and our protection. In return, we ask only for friendship and alliance against our common enemies." The world leaders looked at each other in shock. This was the most important moment in human history. Earth was being invited to join a galactic civilization as equals, not as junior members. But Zara was not finished. There is more. Earth sits at the crossing of 3 major space highways. Your world is what we call a nexus point. Control of Earth means control of travel and trade across this entire part of the galaxy. The Dominion has been searching for this nexus world for decades. They will find it soon. General Ben Torres, head of Earth's Space Forces, leaned forward. "Are you saying Earth is in danger?" "Yes," Zara said simply. "The Dominion will try to conquer your world. They want to use it to strangle our supply lines and defeat the Alliance, but with our help, Earth can be defended. More than that, Earth can become the center of galactic freedom." Jake finally found his voice. "Zara, you don't owe me anything. I just did what anyone would do." Zara walked over to Jake and took his hands. "No, my friend, most people would not have done what you did. Most aliens I have met care only for their own kind. Humans are different. You showed me that beings from different worlds can trust each other, can care for each other. That hope is what built the Alliance." She turned back to the assembly. "The crystal I gave Jake contains information about Dominion weaknesses. It has been waiting for the right time to be used. That time is now." Jake pulled the crystal from his pocket. It was glowing so brightly now that everyone could see it clearly. Dr. Lisa Park, Earth's top scientist studying aliens, gasped. "Is that a Velnathi data core? We've heard about them but never seen one. It contains everything we learned about the Dominion during our war," Zara explained. "Battle plans, ship designs, weapon frequencies, even information about their leaders. With this knowledge, Earth's scientists can help us develop new ways to fight them." President Hamilton looked around the room at the other world leaders. Jake could see they were all thinking the same thing. This was too good to pass up, but it was also dangerous. "Your Majesty," the president said, "we need time to discuss this with our people. This decision will affect all of humanity." "Of course," Zara said, "but do not take too long. Our scouts report that a Dominion fleet is moving toward this sector. You have perhaps 6 months before they arrive." As the meeting ended, Zara walked with Jake outside onto a balcony overlooking the city. The alien ships still hung in the sky, like silver stars. "I can hardly believe it's really you," Jake said. "You were so young, so scared." "And you were so kind," Zara replied. "Do you know what I learned during those months you cared for me? I learned that the universe does not have to be a place of fear and conquest. You showed me that different. People can choose to help each other instead of hurt each other." "What happens now?" Jake asked. Zara looked out at the city below. "Now we find out if humanity is ready to help lead the galaxy toward a better future. I believe you are. You proved it to me 10 years ago in an old mining tunnel." That night, Jake stood in his hotel room looking up at the alien ships. Tomorrow, the world's leaders would vote on whether to join the Alliance. Jake knew they would. Say yes? How could they not? He thought about the scared blue girl he had found so long ago. He had saved her because it was the right thing to do. Now she had returned as an empress, offering to save his entire species. Jake smiled as he watched the stars. Sometimes the simplest acts of kindness really could change everything. The vote took 3 days. During that time, the world seemed to hold its breath. News reporters talked about nothing else. Some people were excited about joining the galactic community. Others were scared of getting involved in an alien war. Jake stayed in New York during the voting. Zara had invited him aboard her flagship, a massive ship called the Star of Velnath. Jake had never imagined anything so beautiful. The ship was like a floating city made of crystal and light. Everything was smooth and curved, very different from the sharp angles of human buildings. "Your people build very differently than we do," Jake told Zara as she showed him around the ship. Velnathi believed that beautiful things help create peaceful minds, Zara explained. "When you live surrounded by beauty, you think beautiful thoughts. When you think beautiful thoughts, you act with kindness." Jake met other members of the Alliance during his visit. There were cat-like aliens called the Morven, who were excellent engineers. The Christek looked like living rocks and were master builders. The Skyborn had wings and could fly even in space with special suits. All of them treated Jake with great respect, which made him uncomfortable. "Why do they all bow when they see me?" Jake asked Zara. "Because your story gives them hope," she said. "Every species in the Alliance was conquered by the Dominion at some point. They all know what it feels like to be afraid and alone. When they hear about a human who helped a stranger without asking for anything in return, it reminds them why we fight." On the third day, the vote was announced. Every nation on Earth had agreed to join the Alliance. President Hamilton made the announcement on worldwide television. "Today, humanity takes its first step into a larger universe," she said. "We go, not as conquerors, but as friends. We offer our friendship to all peaceful species, and we stand ready to defend freedom anywhere in the galaxy." The celebration lasted all night. Jake found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Alliance. He had gone from small-town mayor to galactic diplomat in less than a week. But the celebration ended quickly when Alliance scouts brought bad news. Dominion ships had been spotted only 2 months away from Earth. The enemy was coming faster than expected. General Ben Torres was put in charge of Earth's defense. He was a tough man with gray hair and serious eyes. Jake liked him immediately. "We need to understand what we're facing," Torres told the Emergency Council. "Ambassador Morrison, can you help us learn about this Dominion?" Jake nodded and pulled out Zara's crystal. Dr. Park had been studying it for days with a team of the best scientists on Earth. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. The crystal contains detailed information about Dominion military forces, Dr. Park explained. Their ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses. They rely too much on overwhelming force and not enough on tactics. They expect enemies to fight in predictable ways. The data showed that the Dominion controlled over 300 worlds. Their empire was built on fear and slavery. Conquered species were forced to work in mines and factories. Those who rebelled were destroyed completely. "Why haven't they been stopped before?" President Hamilton asked. Zara answered that question herself. "Because no one ever united against them before. Each species fought alone and was defeated. The Alliance is the first time so many different peoples have worked together. Over the next weeks, Earth began to change rapidly. Alliance ships arrived with new technology. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to upgrade Earth's defenses. The planet's cities began to look different as alien architecture mixed with human buildings. Jake spent most of his time learning about the different Alliance species and their cultures. He had to understand them if he was going to represent Earth properly. It was harder than he expected. The Morven thought with their hearts first and their minds second. They made decisions based on what felt right. The Christek were the opposite. They considered every possibility before acting. The Skyborn valued freedom above everything else and hated being told what to do. "How do you get all these different people to work together?" Jake asked Zara one evening. They were sitting in the garden aboard her ship looking out at Earth through a clear wall. "Very carefully," Zara laughed. "It took years to build the Alliance, many arguments, many misunderstandings. But we all shared one thing. We were tired of being afraid. And now Earth is part of it." "Earth is more than part of it," Zara said seriously. "Earth is the key to everything now. Your world sits at the center of the main space routes in this part of the galaxy. Control Earth and you control trade and military movement across dozens of sectors." Jake felt a chill. "That's why the Dominion is coming." "Yes?" "Emperor Thakamor has been searching for the Nexus world for 20 years. His spies finally found it. If he captures Earth, He can cut off Alliance supply lines and starve our distant worlds into surrender. The weight of responsibility settled on Jake's shoulders. Billions of people across the galaxy were counting on Earth to stay free. It was a lot of pressure for a planet that had barely learned to travel between stars. Captain Susan Carter of the Earth Space Navy was working day and night to prepare for the coming battle. She was a small woman with red hair and fierce determination. Jake admired how quickly she learned to work with alien technology. "The Alliance ships are amazing," she told Jake during a tour of the orbital defense stations. "Their weapons are centuries ahead of ours, but their tactics are too rigid. They fight the same way every time." "Is that bad?" "It means the Dominion knows what to expect from them, but they don't know what to expect from us. Humans fight differently than other species. We adapt faster. We take crazy risks. Sometimes, that's exactly what you need." Dr. Park had been working with Alliance scientists to understand the crystal's data better. What she discovered changed everything. "Jake, this crystal doesn't just contain information about the Dominion," she said, excitedly. "It contains the genetic codes needed to activate ancient Velnathi defense systems, technology that was built by Zara's ancestors millions of years ago." "What kind of technology?" Jake asked. "Star fortresses, weapon platforms that can appear anywhere in space. The Velnathi built them to protect against invasion, then hid them when their civilization fell. Only someone with royal blood can activate them." Jake felt excitement building. "So Zara can turn them on?" "She already has. There are 12 fortress platforms moving toward this solar system right now. They'll arrive just before the Dominion fleet." The news spread quickly through the Alliance. Ancient Velnathi technology was legendary. No one had seen it work for thousands of years. Some people doubted it would still function after so long. Zara was confident, though. "My ancestors built things to last forever," she told the Alliance Council. "The fortresses have been sleeping, but they are not dead. When the Dominion arrives, they will wake up to a very unpleasant surprise." Jake spent his days moving between Earth and the Alliance ships, helping coordinate the defense plans. He was amazed at how much he had learned in such a short time. A few months ago, he had been worried about mining quotas and city budgets. Now he was helping plan the defense of an entire solar system. The different Alliance species brought their own strengths to the preparation. The Morvan engineers upgraded Earth's power systems. The Christek built new defensive structures on the Moon and Mars. The Skyborn scouted the approaches to Earth, watching for early signs of the Dominion fleet. But it was the humans who surprised everyone the most. Earth's military leaders suggested tactics that no one else had thought of. Captain Torres proposed using civilian ships as mobile weapons platforms. Dr. Park developed new ways to combine human and alien technology. President Hamilton organized a communication network that could coordinate defense efforts across the entire solar system. "You humans think in ways we never considered," Zara told Jake. "Other species follow traditional patterns. You break the patterns and create new ones." "Is that good or bad?" Jake asked. "For the Dominion? Very bad. They expect their enemies to fight like warriors. Noble, predictable, easy to defeat. They do not expect enemies to fight like, what is the human word? Pirates." Jake laughed. "We prefer the term creative tacticians." As the weeks passed, more Alliance ships arrived to help defend Earth. Jake met beings from species he had never heard of. Some looked like humans, but with different colored skin or strange eyes. Others were so alien that Jake had trouble understanding how they thought. But they all shared the same goal: to stop the Dominion from conquering another world. The waiting was the hardest part. Everyone knew the enemy was coming, but no one knew exactly when. Scouts reported Dominion movements, but space was vast and ships could change course. Jake found himself thinking about the scared blue girl he had rescued 10 years ago. If he had known then that his simple act of kindness would lead to this moment, would he have done anything differently? He decided the answer was no. Zara had needed help, and he had given it. Everything that followed came from that basic human impulse to care for others. Now that same impulse was about to be tested on a galactic scale. Could humanity help lead the fight for freedom across the stars? Jake believed they could. The crystal in his pocket had stopped glowing, but Jake could feel it was still warm. Somewhere out there, ancient weapons were moving through. The Dominion fleet arrived on a Tuesday morning. Jake was having breakfast aboard Zara's flagship when the alarms started blaring. He rushed to the command center where Alliance officers were staring at their screens in shock. "How many ships?" Zara asked, her voice calm despite the situation. "Over 800, Your Majesty," reported Commander Dale Price, a human officer who had joined the Alliance fleet. "It's the largest Dominion force we've ever seen." Jake felt his stomach drop. The Alliance had only 200 ships defending Earth. Even with the ancient Velnathi fortresses, they were badly outnumbered. "They really want this world," General Torres said grimly. He had come aboard the flagship to coordinate the defense. Emperor Thakmor sent his best fleet. On the main screen, Jake could see the enemy ships appearing at the edge of the solar system. They looked like black daggers against the stars, sharp and threatening. The largest ship was massive, easily 10 times the size of Zara's flagship. "That's the Dominion command ship Endless Night," Zara said. "General Kextar commands it. He has never lost a battle." "Well," said Captain Carter, who was leading Earth's space navy, "there's a first time for everything." The Dominion fleet moved slowly toward Earth, taking their time. They knew they had more ships. They wanted the Alliance to feel fear before the battle began, but Jake noticed something strange. The Alliance crews didn't look afraid. The alien officers were focused and determined. The human crews were actually excited. Captain Carter was grinning like she was about to play her favorite game. "Why is everyone so calm?" Jake asked Zara. "Because we have something the Dominion has never faced before," she replied. "Hope and humans." The first battle happened near Jupiter. Alliance scout ships met the advancing Dominion fleet and began hit-and-run attacks. The human pilots flew in ways that surprised everyone, including their allies. They used the planet's gravity to slingshot around Jupiter, hitting enemy ships from unexpected angles. Captain Tony Lee, flying a modified human fighter, actually flew inside Jupiter's atmosphere to hide from Dominion sensors. When enemy ships came looking for him, he burst out of the clouds like a rocket, destroying 3 ships before they knew what hit them. "That's impossible," said the Morven tactical officer. "No pilot should attempt such a maneuver." "Human pilots don't know it's impossible," Captain Carter laughed. "So they do it anyway." But the small victories couldn't stop the main Dominion fleet. They pushed through the outer system toward Earth, destroying everything in their path. The Alliance fell back, following their plan. The real battle would happen at Earth itself. Jake stood on the bridge of Zara's flagship as the two fleets faced each other in the space around Earth's moon. The sight was both beautiful and terrible. Hundreds of ships floating in the darkness, their weapons charging with deadly light. General Kextar's voice came over the communication system. He spoke in perfect English, his words cold and threatening. "I am General Kextar of the Dominion Empire. You are defending a planet that belongs to us by right of conquest. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick," President Hamilton answered. "From Earth, this is President Hamilton of the Terran Republic and the Free Worlds Alliance. Earth belongs to humanity and our allies. If you want it, you'll have to take it." Kexter laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Very well. You have chosen pain over wisdom. Attack." The space around Earth exploded with light and fire. Dominion ships opened fire with weapons that could destroy cities. Alliance ships returned, fire with everything they had. Jake had never seen anything so terrifying and magnificent at the same time. The Dominion's strategy was simple: overwhelm the enemy with superior numbers and firepower. It had worked for them for centuries, but the Alliance didn't fight the way they expected. Instead of meeting the attack head-on, Alliance ships scattered in all directions. They formed small groups that attacked quickly and then disappeared. The Dominion ships found themselves shooting at empty space while enemies appeared behind them. "It's like fighting smoke," Jake heard one Dominion officer say over the intercepted communications. Captain Carter led a group of human ships converted from old mining vessels. They weren't fast or pretty, but they were tough. Carter used them like battering rams, crashing into Dominion ships and releasing boarding parties. Mining ships are built to break apart asteroids, she explained to Jake during a brief pause in the fighting. Turns out they're pretty good at breaking apart enemy ships too. Dr. Park had equipped many of the human ships with experimental weapons, based on the data from Zara's crystal. One ship fired a beam that made Dominion shields fail. Another shot projectiles that could punch through the strongest armor. But the Dominion adapted quickly. Their ships began working together better, covering each other's weaknesses. Slowly, the Alliance fleet was being pushed back. That's when Zara activated the ancient fortresses. Jake felt the crystal in his pocket grow warm just before 12 massive structures appeared in space around Earth. They were beautiful and alien, looking like flowers made of crystal and starlight. Each fortress was the size of a small moon. By all the stars, General Torres whispered. How long have those been hidden? Since before your species discovered fire, Zara said. But they remember their purpose. The fortresses opened fire with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. Dominion ships simply vanished where the beams touched them. Others were trapped in bubbles of twisted space-time, unable to move or fight. For a moment, Jake thought the battle was over. The ancient weapons were too powerful for the Dominion to face. But General Kextar was not finished. The Dominion command ship revealed its secret weapon, a device that could disrupt the energy fields powering the fortresses. One by one, the ancient weapons began to fail. He came prepared, Zara said grimly. Kextar has been studying Velnathi technology for decades. The battle became desperate. Alliance ships fought with everything they had, but the Dominion was winning. More human ships were destroyed every minute. Jake watched friends he had made over the past months die in flashes of light. Then Jake remembered something Zara had told him about humans being different. About breaking patterns instead of following them. Can you open a communication channel to every ship in the galaxy? Jake asked Zara. Yes, but why? I have an idea. A very human idea. Jake stood up and spoke into the communication system. His voice went out to every ship in both fleets and beyond to listening posts across the galaxy. My name is Jake Morrison. I'm just a human from a small town on Earth. 10 years ago, I found a hurt alien girl and helped her get better. I didn't know who she was. I didn't care what species she belonged to. I helped her because she needed help and it was the right thing to do. Jake paused, looking around the bridge at all the different species working together. That girl grew up to be Empress Zara, and she built an alliance of free worlds. Not because of fancy weapons or great strategies, but because she learned that different people can choose to help each other instead of hurt each other. On the screens, Jake could see that ships on both sides had stopped fighting to listen. People of the galaxy, Jake continued. You don't have to live in fear anymore. You don't have to bow to emperors who treat you like slaves. Look around you. Dozens of different species are fighting together right here, right now, to protect just one small world. We're not fighting because we have to. We're fighting because we choose to. Jake's voice grew stronger. If you're listening to this, if you're tired of being afraid, then join us. Help us. The Dominion thinks they're too strong to defeat. Let's prove them wrong. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake saw new ships appearing at the edge of the solar system. Ships from species he had never heard of. Ships that should have been under Dominion control. Rebellion fleet arriving. Commander, Price reported, his voice filled with amazement. 12 species, over 300 ships. They're firing on Dominion forces. The battle changed instantly. Dominion ships found themselves attacked from all directions by their own former subjects. Species that had been enslaved for centuries chose that moment to fight for their freedom. General Kextar's voice came over the communication channel, filled with rage and fear. Impossible. My ships obey me, I am your master. But his ships were defecting faster than he could stop them. Alien crews that had served the Dominion for years turned their weapons on their commanders. The great Dominion fleet began to fall, apart from within. Jake watched in amazement as the tide of battle turned completely. The Dominion ships that didn't defect were overwhelmed and destroyed. General Kextar's command ship tried to escape, but Alliance forces captured it. When the fighting ended, Jake found himself in the shuttle bay welcoming prisoners of war. General Kextar was a tall, gray-skinned alien with cruel eyes. Even in defeat, he tried to look threatening. "You think you have won," Kextar told Jake. "But the Dominion has 1,000 fleets. They will come for you." "Maybe," Jake said. "But they'll find more than just one world waiting for them. They'll find a galaxy that's learned to fight back." Kextar stared at Jake in confusion. "Why do you fight for aliens? They are not your species." "Because they're our friends," Jake said simply. "And friends help each other." The general was led away, shaking his head like he couldn't understand what had happened. That night, Jake stood on the 6 months after the Battle of Earth. The galaxy looked completely different. The Free Worlds Alliance had grown from 47 species to over 200. Ships from newly liberated worlds arrived at Earth every day, bringing refugees, traders, and new allies. Jake Morrison stood in his new office in Geneva, looking out at Lake Geneva where alien ships landed alongside human aircraft. He was now Ambassador General of the Terran Republic, representing Earth in the growing Alliance government. It was a big change from being mayor of a small Montana town. "Still hard to believe sometimes," said Amy Carter, who had followed Jake from New Helena to become his assistant. "A year ago, the most exciting thing that happened in our town was when the mining equipment broke down." Jake laughed. "Now we're helping run a galactic civilization. Life is strange." The crystal Zara had given him so long ago now sat in a place of honor on his desk. It no longer glowed, but it reminded Jake every day of how small acts of kindness could change the universe. A soft chime announced that Jake had a visitor. Zara entered the office, but she wasn't alone. With her came President Hamilton, who had been elected as the first Speaker of the Alliance Council. General Torres, now Supreme Admiral of the Allied Fleet, was there too. Dr. Park carried a tablet full of reports about the latest scientific discoveries. "The Dominion Council has agreed to meet," Zara announced. "Emperor Thakmor has been removed from power. The new leaders want to discuss peace terms." Jake felt a mix of relief and caution. "That's good news. But can we trust them? The rebellions are spreading too fast for them to stop," Admiral Torres explained. 70% of their fleet has defected. Their economy is collapsing because their slave worlds refuse to work. They need peace more than we do," Dr. Park added. "The information from your crystal helped us develop technologies that the Dominion can't match. Their weapons are useless against our new shields. Their ships can't compete with our new engines. They know they can't win a long war." President Hamilton nodded. "But we won't accept any peace that leaves people enslaved. Every world in the Dominion must have the right to choose its own government." Jake was proud of how Earth's leaders had grown into their new roles. A year ago, President Hamilton had been dealing with problems like trade disputes and environmental issues. Now she was negotiating the future of the galaxy. "What about Earth?" Jake asked. "How are our people handling all these changes?" "Better than expected," President Hamilton said. "The alien refugees have brought new knowledge and skills. Our cities are growing fast, but in good ways. Children are learning alien languages in school. Human families are adopting alien children whose parents died in the war." Jake smiled. That sounded like humanity at its best. When faced with strangers in need, humans chose to help. Over the following weeks, Jake traveled to many worlds as part of the peace negotiations. He saw planets that were just beginning to taste freedom after centuries of slavery. He met species that had never imagined they could rule themselves. On the world of Kethvar, Jake watched former slaves tear down statues of Dominion emperors and build schools for their children. On Morvel Prime, the cat-like Morven people held their first free elections in 300 years. The crystal cities of the Christek rang with music that had been forbidden under Dominion rule. But Jake also saw the damage the Dominion had done. Entire worlds had been strip-mined until they were barely livable. Species had been scattered across the galaxy, separated from their families. Some planets were so damaged that they might never recover. "It will take generations to heal all this hurt," Zara told Jake as they visited a refugee camp on the planet Sanctuary. "But at least now we can begin." Jake watched human doctors working alongside alien healers to help the refugees. Children from a dozen different species played together while their parents planned new lives. It was exactly what he had hoped the alliance would become. The peace negotiations took 3 months. The Dominion Council agreed to release all slave worlds and pay for rebuilding damaged planets. Former Dominion officers who had committed crimes would face trial. Most importantly, the Dominion would be broken up into smaller democratic governments. Jake was part of the team that wrote the new Galactic Constitution. It was based on principles that seemed simple but had never been tried on such a large scale. That all sentient beings had the right to be free, that different species could live together as equals, and that conflicts should be solved through talking instead of fighting. "We're calling them the Morrison Principles," President Hamilton told Jake. "Your speech during the battle inspired these ideas." Jake felt embarrassed. "They're not my ideas. They're just common sense." "Common sense is rarer than you think," Zara said. "Most civilizations throughout history have been built on the idea that some people are better than others. You showed us a different way." The signing ceremony took place on Earth, in the same United Nations building where Jake had first met Empress Zara. Representatives from 400 worlds gathered to sign the Galactic Freedom Charter. Jake got to sign it as Earth's representative. As he wrote his name on the historic document, Jake thought about the scared blue girl he had found in a crashed ship so long ago. She had become an empress who freed half the galaxy. He had become a diplomat who helped write the laws that would govern the stars. But the most amazing change was in the galaxy itself. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries were open again. Children from hundreds of worlds were growing up believing that the universe was a place of friendship instead of fear. Dr. Park's research teams had made incredible discoveries by combining human science with alien knowledge. New medicines could cure diseases that had plagued entire species. Clean energy systems could power whole planets without damaging the environment. Faster-than-light communication allowed families scattered across the galaxy to stay in touch. "Humans really are different," Zara told Jake one evening as they walked through Geneva's alien quarter. "Other species see problems and accept them. Humans see problems and fix them." They stopped at a cafe where humans and aliens sat together, sharing food and stories. Jake saw a human child teaching an alien child how to play chess while their parents discussed business deals. It was such an ordinary scene now, but it still amazed him. "Do you think it will last?" Jake asked. "This peace, this cooperation?" "Nothing lasts forever," Zara said. "But we've given it the best chance possible. We've shown the galaxy that different people can choose to trust each other instead of fear each other. That idea is very hard to kill once it takes root." A year later, Jake returned to New Helena for the first time since becoming Ambassador General. The small Montana town had grown into a small city. The mines were still there, but now they employed workers from 6 different species. The local school taught classes in 12 languages. Jake drove out to the old mining site where he had found Zara's crashed pod. The company had built a monument there, a simple stone marker with an inscription in dozens of languages. "In darkness, one light can illuminate the path for all." Every day, children from the local schools came to hear the story of how a young miner's act of kindness had changed the galaxy. Jake often visited to answer their questions. "Mr. Ambassador," a 10-year-old girl named Lisa asked, "did you know you were saving the whole galaxy when you helped the alien girl?" "No," Jake said honestly. "I just knew she was hurt and needed help. I did what anyone should do." "But not everyone would have done it," said a boy with blue skin, one of the Velnathi children who now lived on Earth. "That's what made it special." Jake smiled. These children were growing up in a galaxy where helping strangers was normal, where being different was celebrated instead of feared. They would build an even better future than his generation had managed. That evening, Zara arrived for the monument's dedication ceremony. She still ruled the Velnathi Empire, but now it was a democracy. She had been elected empress for life by her own people, who loved her for giving them freedom. "Do you ever miss the old days?" Jake asked her as they stood together at the monument. "When life was simpler?" "Simple was often another word for unfair," Zara replied. "Yes, life is more complicated now, but it's also more hopeful. Children across the galaxy go to sleep at night knowing they can grow up to be anything they want. That's worth a little complexity. They watch the sunset paint the Montana sky in brilliant colors. In the distance, ships from a dozen worlds landed at the spaceport that had been built where the old mining office used to stand. "What happens next?" Jake asked. "Whatever we choose to make happen," Zara said. "The galaxy is free now. We can build whatever kind of future we want." Jake pulled the old crystal from his pocket. It had been quiet for over a year now, its ancient secrets shared and its purpose fulfilled. But sometimes in the right light he thought he could still see a faint glow in its depths. "Thank you," he said to the crystal, and to the scared girl who had given it to him, and to the empress she had become. "Thank you for showing me that the universe really can be a place of friendship." As the stars appeared in the darkening sky, ships from hundreds of worlds traced bright lines across the heavens. Each light represented a world where beings could live in freedom, where child,